Hey, it's Josh here. I just want to take a quick second before we get started to express our gratitude and appreciation to anyone who's listening, whether you're consuming this by download, whether you're listening on our website or following us on Instagram or TikTok, however that is. We thank you. Doing that lets us know, hey, that there's somebody out there. And as long as we're entertaining one person, then it just makes everything worth it. So on behalf of myself and everyone here at Game Rage, thank you. All right, now enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Anime Syndicate, the ultimate destination for all things anime. Whether you're a seasoned otaku or a curious newcomer, join us as we explore the thrilling worlds, unforgettable characters, and emotional journeys that make anime an art form like no other. From classic masterpieces to the latest releases, we got your anime fix covered. Get ready to embark on an epic adventure with us as we dive into the enchanting realm of anime.
All right. This is also a special joint broadcast of the Central Unintelligence Podcast. Now, Game Rage Magazine Podcast Network, the only place where you can have Anime Syndicate agents and amateur historiologists unite to talk about probably some of the most ridiculous shit that you ever will have heard in your life. And this special episode, this is going to be a good one. I'm excited about this. So, you all know me. I'm Josh. And I know you know I'll know Frank as well.
No.
Well, this is Frank. So Frank, what are we going to talk about today?
So, I'm thinking about, since we had a couple episodes talking about the different powers in animes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What if we were able to weaponize them in a militaristic way, but based on our actual military technology?
Okay.
And, I mean, through my investigations, I found there are some things that could link them. Obviously, they're not going to be the exact same thing.
Right.
So, personally, one of the greatest powers that I always love, and I will always talk to the ends of it.
Yeah.
Is the Sharingan.
All right.
Which is, honestly, it's one of the few powers in anime where you can take it from Naruto, put it into any anime universe,
right,
and whoever gets it is going to be fucking overpowered.
Yeah.
It's going to work in every anime.
Yeah.
So, how can that be made into a weaponized version for the U.S. military?
For military applications of the Sharingan.
Now, well, the Sharingan has hundreds of applications.
Yeah, probably even thousands.
Yes. Now, before we go on to that, before I talk about combining it with military technology,
right?
Which dojutsu do you think has more military applications, the Sharingan or the Byakugan?
Man, honestly, okay, so the Byakugan I feel like would have more of an intel type of application, right?
Just intel, recon.
Right. Well, yeah, but like reconnaissance, like intelligence gathering, it would be. It's not. I wouldn't say it's necessarily, and of course, it does have its offensive capabilities, you know, just like all the other ones do. But I think that its true power, its true shining light, I guess, of what it is would be applied to be best utilized in some sort of a reconnaissance intelligence gathering, like a CIA or, you know, even scouts or some shit like that. And I think that the Sharingan is more of a now, I mean, here, how crazy do we want to get here? Are you giving that, is that going to be a frontline infantry weapon or weapon system, or is that going to be a reserved for your like special forces or?
Well, that's the whole point of this conversation.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So like, if you were to take the Sharingan and give that to every grunt in the military, and give them that ability, I don't know. You would and that's it. You would have to have something even more powerful than that to stop them from taking over the world, or to keep them listening to you. Because, granted, I guess if everybody had the Sharingan, and that's the other thing. if everyone has the same power, does it just negate itself then? Because it's like, well, everybody's on the same playing field. Yeah, you can creatively utilize it and use it in different ways. Just like we have essentially, while we have better technology in terms of, let's talk about kinetic weaponry. Okay, we have rifles. Rifles are rifle, right? I mean, obviously you can add shit to it to make it better, but if you were to just give a dude a rifle, it's going to be how he uses it, the tactics, the doctrine that he utilizes to take advantage of that weapon system that he's using. So same thing I think would apply to the shotgun gun is, yeah, everyone would kind of be on a little bit of a level playing field, but
it would matter on whose hands has it.
Yeah, it would matter on who has it, what tactics they've developed to utilize it in, and what could they utilize it in to basically, throw off the enemy and make them not have a response to, oh shit, like what happened? What are they doing? Oh god, they're doing this in a way we didn't know what to do. Oh, we have no answer to this, and then you could steamroll. And that's kind of just in regular tactics and strategy. If you can do something that the enemy's not prepared for, well then shit, you just won the battle. So I mean shit, you could do the same thing. The same thing I think could be applied to that power type as well. But I think that, and I don't know that one is, back to the original question though, I don't think that one is actually better than the other. I think they have different military applications that they both will excel greatly at. So if you had to choose one, that's where it's difficult. If you had to say, okay, if you were going to outfit your force, and then you would have to I think you'd have to really focus on what your objectives are, because I do think that if your objectives were, again, to subvert some sort of your enemy or like just gather intel, you'd want the Byakugan. If your fucking goal was to just wipe them out or to, take them over, I mean, really, if you were going to do it by brute force, if that's your style, then yeah, the shotgun gun is probably more apt or more able to be utilized in that manner. Okay. So, there, if I answered the question right.
Okay. All right. So, going back into the whole combining the shit.
Right.
The thing that brought this up to mind is the GN drives from Gundam 00.
That was something I was going to actually ask you. Is this isn't just limited to powers? There's technology also anything that's in anime. So, because I was going to say, man, like Gundam, obviously that is, we've seen it used in anime in a military fashion, because that's essentially what they use it for. Is they use it for a frontline fighting weapon system, basically. Well, not the Gundam itself, but mechanized.
Well, the Gundam's mostly like a specialized.
Right, but like the mechanized humanoid type robot suits, I guess, for lack of a better term. Those are like their frontline. A lot of animes use that as their frontline, that have their mecha animes. It's like their frontline infantry combat. Now, granted, you'll have like the super special, like in Full Metal Panic, you got the Arbalest or whatever. That's like the specialized special forces one. That's not your main. But then they have the little bullshit ones that are like your normal, oh, everybody gets these. Like the infantrymen get these things. So, but anyway, sorry, go ahead. The GN drive.
So the GN drive from Gundam 00, which is probably my favorite of the Gundam series. They're these specialized drive engines, obviously.
Yeah, right. Yeah, obviously.
That create these GN particles.
Right.
Now, these things, the power output is so greater than what is conventionally available that it's not, there's, even at the end of the show, the conventional technology was never able to catch up to it. They actually had to steal it. And
okay.
So there was no conventional means to catching up to how powerful these GN drives were.
Right.
But they also have a secondary effect. Which is if anything that's caught in the GM particles, a lot of the shit doesn't work anymore. Communications doesn't work because it can't get through the particles. Okay. Radar is affected as well. Stuff like that is affected, and that's just a byproduct of the GN drive.
Right. It's like a side effect of it.
Yeah. So the people who created it, Celestial Being, have a means of communicating with it. Yeah. But everyone else does not.
Right. Right.
So my question first of all is the GN's power output its greatest advantage, or is that or the side effect the actual greatest advantage?
Well, in our world, in the conventional world, or whatever you want to call it.
I'm saying before we bring it to the conventional world, just in general, I'm just saying, like, even in its own world, the power output, it's great, but do you find that the power output is its greatest asset? Or it's secondary.
I think that the power output's probably its greatest asset. the other secondary effects are great because if you're also cutting off radar, you're cutting off communications, you're fucking with everything else. Nothing works when it's within its range or within its field. That's any other technology. Then yeah, that's an excellent byproduct. But I mean, obviously the main function of it is to power the Gundam, the mobile suit, right? And then also to power the weapon systems that are, on it, and then to make it, because the GN drive also it travels like fucking super fast and shit, right?
Because of the power output.
Right. So the power output itself is the great asset, and then all the secondary side effects are like, okay, these are great things that we can do with it, in addition to, because this thing it just puts out so much power.
Yeah, but my thing is this where the oopsies is like, oh, this also does this. Do you think, I don't know, for me, I feel like the communication blackout and the whole radar system modification and all that is a greater asset than the power output. Because if you give a Gundam just the great power output, it's going to do great. But if you give a regular, like, let's say from the show, there's the Union's flag, which is their mobile suit.
Yeah.
If you just gave that the secondary effects of the GN drive, I think that would be more dangerous than the Gundam with that power output.
I mean, that's a very valid point. I think that if you took and applied, okay, let's say you get rid of all the secondary effects, right? And you just have the fact that this thing can put out a shit ton of power, therefore it has highly overpowered weapons that basically don't run out of energy, and it has an unlimited basic energy of to function, and
I won't say it's unlimited, but
okay, it's got a near unlimited. It's got a lot of fucking energy. It's got a high amount of storage, right? It can go for a hot minute.
They do need to recharge every so often.
It could go for a hot minute though, right?
Yeah, it can go for a bit.
If you were gonna do one combat mission with it,
a sortie,
if you're gonna run a sortie on it, you wouldn't need to recharge it more than likely, right? So. Afterwards, but like during the middle, you're not gonna be like, oh shit, guys, I'm running out of power. See you later. Got to go back to base.
Well, that actually becomes a problem in the second season, but not because of the power output, but because the guy who created him put a lock on him. Yeah. So in the second season, he gets killed, and so his death triggers the lock to be released.
Oh, so then.
So it unlocks this. I don't know if this is something weird with the Japanese. I'm assuming it was a Japanese mistranslation. Yeah. Because I think when they associate American horsepower, I think they chose Trans Am.
Oh, as that, yeah.
Because that's what the mode was called.
Right, it's called Trans Am. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
So I'm like on a side tangent, like, would you when you consider American horsepower, do you consider the GT or the fucking Trans Am or?
Honestly, I don't know what. It could have been that they just thought that the Pontiac Trans Am was fucking cool. I mean, okay, it's like that's the Firebird, the Trans Am.
I tried looking. I've never found any other reference to a Trans Am other than the fucking.
Yeah, that's it. It's the car, or it's in Gundam. Yeah. Like, so it could have been. Honestly, that would be fucking awesome if that was the inspiration to call it that, was because of they think of fucking American fucking horsepower and they think like, what's something that represents fucking power? Well, and then if you look at the Firebird, because it's like a phoenix or whatever technically is like the logo on the Trans Am, like so.
No, the Firebird's its own car.
Yeah, but it's they combined them. There was like a Pontiac Firebird Trans Am version, like I don't know, it was fucking weird. But I mean, if you think about that, right, then that'd be cool if that was their inspiration for calling it that. But I don't necessarily think that when I think of American horsepower that I think of
the Trans Am.
The Trans Am. I mean,
honestly, I think of the Chevy SS.
Yeah, the SS. Or I mean, listen, fucking Fast and the Furious, fucking the GTO. All right, you kind of think of that with the blower and
but
the
that's
fucking.
Not American. Oh.
It's Pontiac, like
it's an American car. It's just that. There's Japanese aftermarket parts on that shit.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's Japanese aftermarket parts on every single one of those cars, even the American ones, for sure. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the.
But anyway, so it unlocks Trans Am, and so when they go into Trans Am, their GN drive is like at half efficiency. It can no longer operate for a while.
Oh, okay.
So until it gets recharged.
Yeah. So, but back to kind of what I was saying about if you're in the middle of a mission, you're not gonna. So if you get rid of all those side effects, right? The blackout, the communications radar, all the other shit that it can do, and you just give it the power, that thing's already gonna wipe the floor with pretty much fucking anything conventional warfare can throw at it, right?
Right.
So, to me, that's where I think, that definitely that aspect alone, it doesn't need the other things to fucking kill you. It just needs that. Now, the other things are excellent.
To use the whole show as its own example, for my point, is in one the first episodes they showed the main character flying his Gundam.
Yeah.
After doing his they call them armed interventions.
Okay.
And he ends up getting attacked by a Union flag, piloted by one of the best pilots in the Union. To make a long anime series short, these pilots were just kids for the Gundams.
Yeah.
Through this whole freaking secret program and shit like that. And so they had this super smart. So imagine quantum computing.
Yeah.
But so you know how quantum computing is going to be the next huge
jump in technology.
Technology. So imagine whatever the next jump after quantum computing will be.
Oh yeah.
That's what this AI
is supposed to be. Oh okay.
And so it searches the planet.
Yeah.
Always like analyzing people as they're doing their stuff, and it finds people that are, hey, this guy's a match for our organization.
Right.
Hey, this guy's not only is he a match, but he's a Gundam pilot candidate.
Oh.
So it's like saying, okay, this guy, and that's how they find people.
Yeah. Okay.
And so these kids were just found because they matched the profiles that they're looking for in their quality.
Right.
They match the qualities that they're finding that they want in their pilots.
Right. Okay.
So a lot of these guys aren't actually experienced. They're not experienced pilots.
They're just like nobodies.
I want to say they're nobodies, but they've gone through training and stuff. But they were a secret organization hiding for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Okay.
This was them coming into the light.
Got it. All right.
So this intervention or this event, yeah, the Union flag technically lost the fight.
Yeah.
But he made him look bad.
Right.
He was able to avoid him. He was able to. So in that situation, he not only did he have the overwhelming power, but he had the communication blackout. He had the radar blackout. He had all that, and he still barely won. So my situation in this is, if he just had the power output and this fool had the other two things, would that fight have gone the same way?
Probably not. If it was just, well, it could. I don't know if it would have went the same way, but it could have very easily gone the other way.
Because coming back into our conventional world,
right?
We've even seen in our world, experience can trump.
Oh yeah, definitely
can trump a superior fighter.
Yeah, well, it's like that old saying about youth and exuberance can never beat old age and fucking treachery, right? That's a fucking great saying, and it's true. It's literally the truth, because you can have somebody who is the best. I mean, you can look at any combat sport. You can look at the UFC. You can look at even anything like that, and you can see there are prime examples of dudes who are up and coming young guys, and they get beat by the old wily veteran because, you may have this fucking shit down, and you're fucking so good, and you're the best in the world. But
to go what you're saying, if Butterbean came back from retirement, I would honestly, even though he's old now, something tells me he would probably still fuck some people up.
Yeah, he probably would dominate some people because
I don't know what's his name. Was it Logan or whatever? One of
those guys wanted to fight him. Yeah.
I'm like, my money's on Butterbean.
Yeah, man. Because listen, unless Butterbean wants to make some money and throws the fight, I'm sure all those fights are thrown. But anyways, I don't know what that would be specifically. But if you take the example of all these people that. You've got the young guy who's got all this great training and everything, but then you got this old dude who, he may be a little slower than he used to be, may not be as strong as he used to be, but he's been through so many things. He's seen it all. He's done it all. He knows everything you're going to throw at him and then some. So all it takes... Only that,
even if you do throw something that he doesn't know, he has the experience to fall back on to figure it out.
Right. And we've seen where, the opposite has happened, where the young guy or the old lion is just too old, and there does come a point where... Yes,
old age
and that's the thing. In something like that, like a combat sport, where there are rules and there are things, that is where that typically it will lean more towards the younger guy because you have to follow the rules, right? But if we look at combat, when you're fighting in warfare, there are essentially there is the Geneva Convention and there's these things, right? But let's just be real. There really are no rules, all right? There's really no, when you're fighting and you're in the battle and you're an America versus Russia type deal, not us versus fucking sheep farmers in fucking Afghanistan, not us versus some third world country. I'm talking about us versus another actual first world nation. If we are fighting each other one-on-one, infantry versus infantry, there are no rules. No one's going to be bringing up war crimes. No one's going to be bringing up fucking, there's not going to be on the evening news, American infantry unit wipes out innocent Russian, there's going to be none of that, right? Yep. It's just going to be no fucking rules, and whatever you got to do to win and kill the enemy, that's fair game. And so if you take that into account,
to even if it's actually at that point, like another anime that we both liked was Kenichi.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Remember, the karate teacher even told him that all martial arts nowadays are formed around tournaments.
Right.
So your fighting style is based off of points.
Right.
Where he's teaching him the actual karate is like, there's no, like he said, punch him in the fucking nose, get him in the fucking legs,
right. Kick him in the dick. None of that matters.
You're not fighting to win a match. You're fighting to win
your life, essentially, like to not die, because that's the result if you lose in not in a tournament or not in any kind of thing like that.
In a street fight, you could lose your life.
You could die. So you are literally fighting for your life, and same thing applies obviously in combat. And
to go back to the whole old age, I keep trying to mix up the old adage about old age versus the tenacity of youth. I don't think you don't see that as prevalent in anything outside of the military.
Yeah,
because even looking at our first sergeant experience,
right? Yeah,
with first sergeant in RTC.
Yeah.
Like remember that time we went to Camp Pendleton and first sergeant was retired.
Yeah,
he had been out of the military, and he was waiting for the guy who was supposed to guide our point person, and he just grabs a random Marine. Hey, Marine, I'm trying to find whoever it was. Can you go grab him? He's like, yes, for sergeant. And that fool ran. That motherfucker didn't go look. He was on a mission. First sergeant, even though he's retired.
Right.
You don't get to be a first sergeant without doing some shit.
Right, yeah.
So it's like, you're no longer in the military, but he goes, you might fuck me up if I don't fucking do it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's saying like, that whole adage is fucking true in the military.
Yeah.
At least in the NCO side of it.
Yeah.
If you go to the enlisted side, there's a lot of politics, obviously.
Right, to the officer side, yeah.
Yeah, but especially, you'll see that a lot in the NCOs and especially like sergeants. Like, there's a reason why in both the Army and the Marine Corps, the sergeant ranks are highly respected. Because you're, not only are you a fucking leader, but you're in the trench shoulder to shoulder with your shoulder.
Right, with the fellow soldiers. Yeah. So shoulder to shoulder with your fellow soldier. Yeah, there we go. That's hard to say.
Well, no, I have a problem distinguishing those two words.
Oh, so shoulder and soldier. Yeah. It's that H, man. That H gets you every time.
So anyway, back to the whole subject. So in that situation, so that's why my point is, I feel that the communication blackout and the radar blackout might, in my opinion, might be a more valuable asset than the power output.
Yeah. But it just depends on how it's utilized, and it depends on what. I'm
talking about in a single set platform.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about, you have a power output, so let's just, instead of putting it into a gun, let's make a gun.
Oh, you're saying just as in general, not in Gundam specific terms.
No, that's
like if you just had the ability to do communications blackout, or have something that could have a high power output.
Yes.
Oh, we'll see. Okay, so then when we frame it that way, I think that those things that have specific effects, those would be more valuable because, granted, just having the high power output to us, I mean, well, what the fuck can I do with that? I mean, nothing really, or okay, whatever. We don't have to get gas in the Humvees because we can just run it off of this. All right, that's cool, but at the end of the day, I would much rather have, fucking the ability to either be invisible on radar or. Well, I mean, we already can do that, but, fuck other people's radar up while I'm at it, or just communications in whatever area that I'm in, gone, don't exist. I'm the only one that could communicate.
Yeah.
Those abilities, yes, are much better, I mean, in terms of...
and the reason that makes me ask this is because in that show, so at the end of the first season, they find out that one of the persons in the celestial being was a traitor, and he stole the technology to make those GN drives.
Yeah.
And sold it to the rest of the people, saying, hey, Earth has to form under this new organization, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to lead it from the shadows, but I'm going to give you these engines.
Right.
And he gave him like 30 of them. and they were the red GN drives. So the movie confirmed it takes 3 red GN drives to equal to the one of the green ones that the Gundams use.
Yeah.
So 3 reds equal 1 green.
Okay.
In power output.
Right. Okay.
From what I understand, it didn't have as strong of those side effects either.
Oh, okay.
But
I guess that kind of balances it out a little bit then, right?
So in the second season, the Middle East hates. So it's funny. The Middle East becomes this what it is now, like, you know, a whole terrorist organization.
Yeah. Right.
But for a whole different reason.
Okay.
So the Union, the PRE, I think they're calling some shit. It's the Russia and China.
Okay.
And
isn't the PRE the thing that we came up with for the fucking story?
No, that's not what I did, but and it's I want to say the European Union or whatever they called it.
Whatever the version of that is in the show.
So they all came up. Somebody came up with the technology called solar elevators.
Okay.
So basically, it's the satellite dishes in orbit.
Yeah.
That absorb energy from the sun, and then the elevator sends it down to wherever.
Yeah. Okay.
It wiped out the need for oil. It wiped out the need for
unlimited energy.
Basically.
Yeah. Okay.
So that fucked up the Middle East because no one's buying the oil.
There's no. Yeah. They're poor now.
So, what was I going with this?
I don't know.
So anyway, so in the second season, there's still unrest.
Okay.
And as the organization that he created to rule was called the A-Laws.
Okay.
So all the countries are still separate, but they follow the A-Laws rule, basically, because they're their force. And for charity purposes, they added a bunch of those engines in this area to provide power to primary systems, whatever, in the Middle East.
Oh, okay.
So think about that. The place where that has the most unrest against them now has a bunch of these engines that block out communications and radar.
Yeah, so now they can't. I mean,
but they're there for charity to give energy.
Right, to give them free energy.
Yeah.
And then they also can't uprise against them anymore because they can't organize. So, I mean, that's genius. That's pretty smart. It's a smart way to do it.
So that's why I brought it up because
it
has great power output, but that was not his
right.
Purpose.
That was the secondary purpose to the main purpose of shutting these fools down and not letting them fight against them. Basically, or just cutting them off at the head.
Because there were uprisings, but they just they weren't organized.
Yeah, so now they're fizzled out and they're easy to contain. Basically, at that point, what do you think about? All right, kind of like going into. I don't know if this is gonna sound racist or not, but well, I mean, I'm just asking the question because it's to me it's at least interesting to ponder. So, you know how in Gundams, right? Gundam has been in Japanese culture since what, like the 80s or the 70s? Like, so there's like 40 years now, right? Basically, that's been around. And it's mainstream within their culture, right? Like it's not Gundam's not a fringe.
I think they're building the 3rd statue now. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So like, it's heavily ingrained within their culture, right? Yeah. So
I don't just say Gundam, but
Mecha in general, right? So obviously, there's got to be some part or someone somewhere within the Japanese government that's trying to build something equivalent to that, right?
Did.
Well, yeah, they built that fucking giant one or whatever.
No, they literally built. Remember, they built one in some American IT guys built their own, and then they challenged them, but they never were able to get.
Oh, they didn't fight. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, anyways, do you think that? Okay, let's say that becomes a real thing, right? Do you think that the Japanese, because they have been so basically culturally ingrained to this type of technology.
Well, now that they're allowed a military expand to actually have a military, I don't know. It might be a.
Well, I guess my question is: do you think that they're going to be the ones that kind of start this thing?
I think they're too far behind.
You think so?
Because the problem is.
But man, what a way to catch up, though, right? Yeah. Like if you said, "All right, guys, we haven't had a military since fucking World War II, right?" So, hey, I got this idea. What if instead of us just spending money on...
Just listen to me. Listen to me out.
Yeah.
How about robots and lasers? Lasers and robots. Robots with lasers. There we go.
There we go. Ah! Yeah. Robots with lasers. Because that... Because that could be, I mean, especially when you've seen all this stuff that allegedly we've been developing direct energy weapons and things like that. If you take that platform and you put it on a fucking mechanized robot, essentially that there's a guy inside of, or even could be a drone.
That's gonna be a while with it because
sure.
Right now, the only thing that can hold the direct energy weapon is
a satellite or something, right?
C-130.
Oh yeah, okay. So it takes a lot of fucking energy to carry those things. But obviously, as with anything with exponential growth and technology, what do? We just turn it.
Eventually,
we just get it smaller.
Right now, it's not feasible. But
yeah.
I don't know, 20,
so
15 years.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Line?
Like in 15 or 20 years from now, do the Japanese come out and say, "All right, guys, we've been working on this for like 15 years. We made a real, actual, legitimate Gundam." And
honestly,
now it's going to be
if they make a mech, it's going to be less Gundam and more Metal Gear Rex.
Oh, okay, yeah, I could see that. That's probably more likely to happen.
Yeah,
and because of the way of, it's more likely going to be a drone too, right? Yeah. Like that's probably more than likely.
You know what the funny thing is?
What
year would you say Metal Gear 1 came out? The actual,
I think it came out in like
NES.
Yeah, it was like 1991 or 2. I think, and the original game.
Yeah, the whole thing was like, oh no, they made a mobile tank that can carry nuclear missiles.
Yeah,
that was the big.
That was oh my god,
that's the end of the world weapon.
Right.
And here we are, like, now we got these things that doesn't even need a pilot, and it'll be across the world in 20 minutes to drop a nuke off. So
yeah, or
that's just that, or I just turn this key and I launch it from my patio, and it's gonna still hit anywhere in the world where I want.
Yeah, which is crazy.
So it kind of made the Metal Gears like
irrelevant. Like that's never been a threat. Back then it was during because during that time period when no one could, obviously not even fiction could think up these kinds of crazy shits that.
So yeah, that's fucking crazy to think that anime and video games could not actually outperform what the real world could.
That's true. I mean, we literally made that. We made that advanced technology.
The concept of a Metal Gear
is obsolete.
Was obsolete. Literally, probably the same year that it came out.
Exactly, because it's like, I mean, shit. If you think about it,
so basically, the U.S. military complex is a weapon to surpass Metal Gear.
I mean, really, it is. It is finally a weapon to surpass Metal Gear. What do you think? Because realistically, we did already have a tank or a rail car that could shoot a nuclear fucking mortar shell. So, like, technically, we already had Metal Gear in like World War II, or the original version of it.
Car, you're thinking about the Gustav gun. That was the Nazis. They had it on the rail.
Well, that's right. Well, but that was like
we had
that's what I'm saying,
atomic candy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, but we had that essentially, it's a tank, even though it's on rails. But it's a tank that can shoot nuclear weapons. No, it wasn't
on rails. It was just this little fucking. It was on the back of a Jeep.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Our shit was portable.
Yeah, right. Well, the Nazi one was...
The Gustav gun was just meant to be a huge artillery gun.
Yeah, that was on rails. Yeah. And, like, but they could shoot... If they figured out, you could shoot a nuclear weapon through this. Like,
they never made it that far.
We did that, though. Yeah. We took it and did that, because I know that that exists, those nuclear mortars.
What was the name of that shit, the plane they had? The one that we straight up stole and made the B-2?
Oh, yeah. It's like the Messerschmitt something, I think. I don't know.
We took that. We took the Gustav gun. We took all the shit, made it better, added rockets to everything we already had, and
took their rockets, added them to our shit, and then went to space and said, "Fuck you guys." Fucking crazy.
All right, let's take a quick break.
All right. Now we're back from that short break that literally it was no time at all. We stopped talking and then now we're talking again. So you're welcome for doing that because we could have made you wait. We could have put on some elevator music or some shit. I mean, that kind of would have been funny actually. But anyways.
The Monty Python intermission.
Yeah, intermission. Dun, 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 and then had the little fucking, the little bucket of soda and then the fucking popcorn and dancing and shit. Anyway, so, all right. So we were going to.
So going back to the original point.
Yeah.
So with the GN drive, for me, I see. For the GN drive, now let's bring it to the conventional world.
Right, okay.
I don't think the power outputs can be a necessity for the U.S. military.
Right.
We don't have any weapons that require
power. It's all kinetic. It's all just kinetic,
Base.
Based weaponry. Yeah.
But our ships, most of our ships are now becoming nuclear powered, which is...
Well, I mean, see, that's probably something we could utilize it for, is powering naval vessels and.
I'm assuming based on, if it's able to run a Gundam, it could probably run an aircraft carrier.
I mean, shit. It would probably last. How often they say you got to refuel those nuclear reactors? 20 years. I mean, shit. The GN drive could probably go for 1,000 or something before needing to. Your thing went out.
You went out.
Oh, can you hear me now?
No.
Oh yeah, your headphones went out then. How about now? Better?
No, still can't hear you.
Wait a minute. Is this mine? That's mine. Put your thing. Click it.
Yeah.
Is it in?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me try this. All right. Is that better? Good. You're in. All right.
I can hear you.
Anyways, all right. Go ahead. About the
So
GN drive.
So yeah, if you put a GN drive, I think that's the only application that it could have in the U.S. world, in our conventional world.
Powering an aircraft carrier. Potentially, it could power. Well,
but
also drone.
I think the GN drive is too big for anything else.
Oh.
Remember, these things are like fucking 20 stories tall.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And the GN drive itself is like 5 stories at least.
Well, if you could build, all right. So you know in Ace Combat, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, you know how they have in the one where they have that like it's just that giant fucking hovering, I don't know, stealth aircraft thing that's like
super big B2.
Yeah, it looks like that. Yeah, and it has a whole shit ton of other B2s that come out of it.
Yeah.
Like if you had something ginormous like that could literally never need to touch down, and it would just be in the air at all times. That could be potentially something that. Or
kind of like what we did with the B-52s during Operation Chrome Dome.
Yeah, they could just be up in the air for
indefinite time.
Well, that would be if you had a GN drive in that. It could be literally indefinitely. Mm-hmm. Or really, the best application would be to apply it to space warfare.
But we're not there yet.
Well, that's something that could get us there, just because if you had something that could produce that much power, you could potentially.
So you no, but my point is that I was trying to say is that the GN drive's power output is almost pointless.
Right, unless you have something to power it with, or something to utilize that power output.
That's secondary.
Yeah, though in our world, I think those secondary aspects are probably more useful than the power output itself. I mean, yeah, we could utilize the power output for if we could figure out how to, make it run aircraft carriers.
Honestly, it either run aircraft carriers or and that's the sucky part, because of its secondary effects, we probably couldn't put it in cities and shit.
That's true, because it would just cut off communications and, it would just fucking not work. Shit wouldn't work.
You have to put it like on offsite oil rigs or something like that.
Yeah, just have it sent in, the power sent into wherever,
But I don't know, man. Because I don't know the exact power output of a GN drive compared to...
Like a nuclear reactor.
Like, how...
I wonder, is there a comparison? Have they talked about that? Because really, it would be up to the creators of Gundam to figure that out. I mean, we could speculate as to what that could potentially be.
Because we have to speculate how much power would it take to run a Gundam.
Yeah, and then how much power what does that translate into, I guess, into nuclear power output? Or really, I'd be curious to know what that translates to. How many gallons of gasoline would be the equivalent of a GN drive? You know what I'm saying? Like, that might be interesting to ponder. So,
trying to find it out right now, but
yeah, interesting.
It says it's 938.2 MeV per bionic decay.
Man, that makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever. That is.
I think that's something that was probably made up for the show.
Here's what I'm gonna write. What is the miles per gallon on equivalent on a GN drive? Let's see what comes up. Equivalent on a GN drive. It says, "Go fuck yourself." Gundams and gas mileage, dude. That would be a fucking great fucking title for a fucking video. How much fuel does a Gundam take, and where does it go? Okay, well that's not answering it.
Well, the GN drive is only in Gundam 00.
Yeah, that's true. Well, all right. Well, I'm not gonna find an answer for this because I don't know. But anyways,
wait, hold
on. Well, I'll just talk and pause it. So
basically, it's particle decay.
That's what powers it. Is the decaying of the nuclear reactor?
No. There's the whole shit. What are they calling it? The whole biodynamic decay thing that powers the engine. Yeah. So it's 938.2 MeV per bionic decay. So per particle dying in its final stage, that's That's what Bionicle Decay is. Is the Baryonic.
Byronic. I don't even know what that word means.
Yeah. So MEV might be like a. We use wattage to.
Kilowatt hours. Is that like what that is for?
Yeah. So I don't know what MEV is. So. There's a so the Bionic one that I'm saying for that is for particle decay. There's radioactive decay, and that's what's used in nuclear reactors.
Oh, okay.
So it is it's a whole different beast. According to this, it's a partial perpetual motion drive.
So it's constantly moving. It has to be constantly moving.
No, so constantly moving is something that. Why can't I say that word?
Perpetual
device is a conundrum in thermodynamics because the first rule of thermodynamics is energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed or changed form or moved somewhere else.
Right.
So a perpetual motion machine removes all that because if it's constantly moving, it needs to burn energy to move.
To move, yeah.
But there's no energy, so there's no movement. But this is saying that it can keep on moving to generate energy without itself using energy to turn. Like, look at an engine.
Yeah.
It makes power by the engine turning the shaft.
Right.
The drive shaft. But in order for that shaft to be turning, energy needs to be made, which is the combustion of the gasoline going into the engine.
Right.
So, not a perpetual.
Right. Perpetual motion. Yeah.
So, for this to be it means it must be generating its own power in some way, which is probably through the particle decay. Which I'm not a actual physicist, so I don't know how the fuck that will work. But
you know what that is?
What?
Magic. That's what
It's fucking magic.
It's fucking straight magic.
So we can't put magic into fucking.
Yeah. Can we put magic? Can we put magic into an aircraft carrier? God, just imagine if you could take some sort of magic or some sort of magical device. Look at even like other animes.
It's even saying right here. Okay, so it does have a thing. So a GN drive will continue to supply power for theoretically an infinite period of time as long as the GN drive is not pushed to its breaking point.
Wow, so as long as you don't push it to the limit,
it'll make it a limited engine.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it could be used for anything then.
Man. But what about other animes where, let's say, we're like magic based type deals where spells and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. What if you had?
It's hard to bring that shit over. Like the Sharingan, what I was trying to make earlier was we have helmets that, like our helmets, like in our aircraft, in like the F-35, the F-22, fucking, even the helicopters have it where it just shows you everything you need to know.
Right. It's kind of that. It kind of is that a little bit. It's
and
just,
then I was also saying for soldiers on the ground, we have those recon droids.
Yeah.
Drones.
Right. Yeah.
And that's almost kind of like the Byakugan.
That's true. But like, okay, let's just go down the thread of magical things for a minute and think about, okay, if you could apply, spells or what's that one? It's one of those isekai ones where he goes to another world or whatever, right?
You think about Tanya of the Evil?
Is it that one?
Where the little girl and she has...
Well, no, she's got like devil powers or whatever, right? But magic, basically.
It's magic, but they use it to enhance bullets.
Right,
to be able to fly.
Yeah. And I'm saying like you could take something from like one of those other animes, like Demon Slayer, right? Okay, like obviously there are people that have magical abilities, or even in Sword Art Online, right? Don't they have...
Demon Slayer, they don't have powers.
Isn't she like a fucking...
The demons have powers.
Yeah, but doesn't
the humans don't. All that shit you see them throwing with the fire and all that shit.
Yeah,
that's just for our sake to see it. In reality, all it is swordsmanship.
So what about the girl who's the cleric or whatever, like, and she's doing the healing and shit? That's not magic?
In Demon Slayer?
Yeah, the girl who's part of his party or whatever.
Are you talking about Goblin Slayer?
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, Goblin Slayer. Sorry. All right. I fucked up. All right, Goblin Slayer. Yeah. Yeah, not Demon Slayer. Yeah, Goblin Slayer. All right. Okay. So like that one where the girl, she's got like people have magical abilities and shit, right? So
remember, if you're talking about Goblin Slayer, remember you're talking about D&D 3.5.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Basically, but okay, even that. Okay, like that same thing of taking those types of abilities and powers and utilizing them in, our modern military.
If you want to do it like that, then Tanya of the Evil is the
right.
Best
That's what I'm saying. Like that's a good example of, oh man, so you could take and imbue magic inside bullets that could fucking do all kinds of you make them do all kinds of crazy shit, do extra damage.
They're able to fly and do all this. Remember, they were basically be treated as mobile artillery, but they were basically C-130s themselves.
I mean, that's true. Yeah, they could literally fly and shoot basically artillery cannons out of their regular rifles. Their bullets were like
Enfields or whatever the Nazi. What was their variation in World War One?
The Gewehre GEWHE or something like that. The Gewehre 43, I think, was their version of that.
It wasn't it also in World War II?
Weren't they Russians? Weren't they like Russian though?
They were implied to be Germans because
I thought they
were the Empire.
Yeah, I don't know.
The people they were fighting were Russians.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways,
remember, and for some reason, because they called their land the fatherland,
right? Yeah.
And the people that were fighting called it the motherland, so that makes them German Rush,
right?
But they were called by Empire and this shit.
Yeah.
So for some reason, all of Europe has those names, but America is still called the United States of America.
Yeah, that is weird.
Hey.
But okay, so you take that type of ability or those powers or whatever, and you say you have a whole aircraft carrier of fucking dudes that have that ability, and you could even take and like I said, I don't know if magic is if it would be an ability that you can learn, or if it's like you would naturally have a certain type or a certain thing. So you could have guys that are like the crew.
In that show, they had to get tested, and the test tells them if they have a magic ability.
Yeah, but so like you don't get to choose what it is you do, right? So like what kind of magic you have, so you can't learn.
Depends on the show.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So like in our world, let's say okay, you had a base ability for magic, and then you could learn certain abilities, or maybe you had a inclination that would put you more in line with an ability set, a skill set, right? So if you had guys that were like electricians, cool, maybe they have like electrical magic that they're able to use or utilize or whatever.
Well, it kind of sounds more like the Fullbringer shit from Bleach, where humans who have special powers based on shit that their life, like
right.
Chad had that coin from his dad and his grandpa, and that was his. I mean, for lack of a better term, that was his magic. His
his like magical item or whatever. No, right?
In D&D, the clerics they have holy items.
Oh, that was his holy item. Yeah.
That's how they channel their energy.
Okay, so let's say it's not that though. Let's say it's just like like Harry Potter. I guess this is not getting an anime, but let's just say for the purposes of explaining it, it's like Harry Potter, where okay, cool, you have magic, you have a certain subset of abilities that you can utilize, and then you can kind of maybe learn other things potentially. But like you have a base set of magical skills that you can kind of like that you lean towards a certain tech tree, I guess, for lack of a better term. So you could have like, on a naval ship, you'd have the dudes like, the guys who do fire suppression. Cool, they use fire. It's like or like an Avatar. Yeah. That'd probably maybe be a better. You're born with the certain type. I mean, it's not. It's called bending, but it's magic basically.
It's magic.
But you can only use.
Like in Naruto, they call it jutsu, chakra.
Okay, yeah.
It's magic.
Right, it's magic. Yeah, you only get that one certain kind of magic. You don't get to use unless you're the Avatar or unless you're the fucking OP guy. It's very rare that you would get to use multiple or all different types of the magic. You just get to pick one.
Well, it depends.
You get stuck.
Also, it depends on the show.
Right, sure, but I'm just saying in our world, let's just say that specific subset applies, right? And you only get to use one kind of type or whatever. Sure. So you could have a whole subset of dudes that are just maintenance guys that have certain types of aspects of magic that cool, they can run this. Maybe they're what powers the ship. It's like an Avatar. The firebenders were the ones that would be like powering like the vessels and shit.
Yeah, they're using lightning.
Yeah, or like they would be using powering the energy fields or whatever, or they're using they're firebending to create combustion, right? So like that could be something that shit, like now you've got these. That's your job. You get drafted and like that's your job now, and then like. Or you could be out on the front lines using your abilities to fucking fight or do whatever. That would, I mean, then you would have something like that where the people who had the most people of certain types of powers maybe could take over other nations that their powers were not maybe as good or they didn't evolve to utilize them.
Basically,
it's Avatar. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's because the Fire Nation, obviously, fire is aggressive and it's powerful and you can blow up a lot of shit. But if you douse it with water, then it gets fucking. I don't know, but anyways, what else you got for this?
I'm just saying, like, so trying to think of other anime powers that you want to try to bring into this world. So, like, right now, if we were to gain 5 GN drives now, like just out of the blue, would that change the fate? How would that change our military?
If we got 5 of them, well, I mean, firstly, I think we would immediately try to reverse engineer them and try to figure out how to make more, obviously, right? So that's the first step. And then the second step is probably, okay, well, what can we do with them? I think right now we would probably start testing to utilize them even though we don't need it because we have nuclear propulsion for our ships, but if this is better and it causes a well, we would have to then figure out, okay, the side effects.
Yeah.
How can we get around that? It'd be like in Galaxy's Edge where they have the LCOM, right? Like we would have to create essentially something that could cut through that shit to communicate elsewise, because that would be a great asset of if you had a carrier strike group that was powered by these things and it just blacked out the entire fucking zone that it was in. I mean, shit.
But wouldn't they also tell everybody, oh, this is where they're at?
I mean, true, but it depends how big the field is. And then also, yeah, you could know where the fuck we're at, but
once you enter
it, you're done. Like, you ain't gonna get out. And if you do get out, well, if you didn't send your entire, that's the thing. You don't know. You know where we are, but you don't know how many of them.
What's there?
You don't know what it is, and you don't know what to send. So if you don't send everything, you're basically just sending guys on a suicide mission. Because no one's getting out of that, I don't think. And if they do get out of that enough to call for help, then it's like, oh shit. But then, by then it's too late. It's too fucking late. So I think we would figure out how to utilize it in that manner. And then I think that we would probably figure out how to utilize it to power our research, essentially. All of our weaponry. We would figure out how to we would go into energy weapons, essentially.
I was about to say, would you think it will cause a shift in ideology?
Yeah, I think it would cause a shift in military doctrine. It would go from utilizing kinetic weaponry to more probably drone based, because if once we figured out that technology and could replicate it and maybe make it smaller, you could basically have drones or whatever you wanted to call them, robots, whatever, mechs, I don't know what you want to call them. You could basically power those things with an infinite power source, not infinite, but basically a power source that they could go for a long time, and you wouldn't need to necessarily spend a human life to go take a hill or to go, take an objective or whatever the case may be. You could literally send in an army of these robots, and if no one else had them, that would be the thing. If no one else had them.
But you think GN drives would be the key to unlocking that research?
I think so, yeah. If we had them, then we could start unlocking that research, because we'd be figuring out.
But as it says right now, we don't have that.
Yeah, we don't have them. So
are you saying that the GNs?
I don't know if it's necessary to get there.
That's why I'm asking. Like, what's gonna change with this? So if we don't have them,
right?
You thinking that the GN's gonna unlock that tree?
Yeah, it'll unlock that tech tree for sure. It'll unlock it quicker. It'll be like a cheat code to get those things damn near immediately. Well, maybe not immediately, but within a couple of years. Whereas maybe it would have took 10 to get to something a weaker version. We would get to the best version of that thing within 12 to 18 months, probably, if we had because again, the military industrial complex is going to put all its best people on this, and it's going to fucking figure it out. It's not, that's what we do. That's what it does. It figures shit out, and it figures out how to apply it in a military fashion and how best you can kill things with it. That's generally what we do. And if you give us a technology like that, bottom line, that's what we're doing. So figuring that out, I think I think that's what changes immediately. And then I think once you figure out once we determine what we can do with it, then that's going to shape where the doctrine goes. Because I said, I feel like it would probably go more towards drone-based weaponry and energy weapons. Because if you have this unlimited source, well, you don't got to make bullets anymore. You don't got to make fucking gunpowder. You don't got to make none of that shit. Because you have this thing, and if you can weaponize that energy that's inside there, and you have almost an unlimited, source of it, well, shit, you never have to reload. You can make these little guns that, you could have 25,000 shots, essentially, of this energy that could kill you or kill someone out of this gun and never have to reload. Like, and then the gun would never, there would be no wear, there would be no tear. It wouldn't, like our normal kinetic weaponry breaks down. It barrels, over time of, thousands of rounds, the barrels fucking get the rifling gets, what do you call it? Like tires, it gets bald, like, it wears out and eventually needs to be replaced. Well, with this, likely it probably would. You could fire 25,000 rounds and it would never need to be replaced or whatever the case would be, right? I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying that's what it would be, but let's just say as an example that was the case. Well, shit, you could never. I don't think you could fire 25,000 rounds out of any of our current weapons that we have right now without needing to at least replace the barrel or replace parts.
I think the AK-47 on all those test videos, it functioned up to like 7,500 rounds, but like.
Yeah, sure.
It was on fire.
Yeah,
it was jammy.
That's what I'm saying. But like, there's no way it would make it to that 25,000. This thing would probably go 25,000, and the only thing you would need to do is just recharge the magazine, or that's what it is. It's a little fucking magazine, and you just pop it out, and it's basically just a battery. It's not even a mag. It's just a battery. You just need to change the battery. That's it. That's all you got to do.
Well, it's funny because in Star Trek there's I forgot what the gun's called. It's a PDW weapon. And it's a ballistic weapon, but it reloads like the P90, and the mag just straight up looks like a DeWalt battery.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I was gonna say. Now it's funny to bring up the original Gundam series. The whole aspect of it was the evolution of humans. It turns out that the main character Amuro was the first example of a human evolution.
Yeah.
Of a new evolution, where they were called the new types.
Oh, okay.
Basically, they were humans that evolved to where they don't suffer the degradation that you would suffer in space.
Yeah.
So you don't get the gravitational dissipation, so your bones don't weaken or lose density in themselves. Their muscles don't fatigue, and they can handle both lack of gravitational pressure and extreme level of gravitational pressure.
Right.
So that was the whole aspect of the new types. So they're saying like they were trying to show the whole thing was to show that this is humanity evolving to survive in space.
Right. Okay.
So because we left Earth. Well, Earth's still a thing, but we left it and we're exploring.
Right.
Now in Gundam 00, I think for the most part up until Seed, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
The new types was the whole thing.
Right.
So in Gundam 00, because I said after Seed, I think it was with Wing, or I don't know, I could be wrong. That was no longer part of the story.
Yeah.
In 00, I think this is when they brought it back, but they didn't call them new types; they called them innovators. And not only did they didn't evolve physically.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a mental evolution.
Oh, all right.
So it unlocked this thing called quantum brainwaves. And so basically, like from the low side, I saw it like when it interacts with persons, you're able to pick up their emotions. You're able to pick up their feelings and how they're. Basically, you're able to connect with them.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing. Was the whole thing about quantum brainwaves was this is supposed to be able to be the key to connecting people.
Oh, okay.
And so the guy, earlier Shimper, the guy who created Celestial Being, figured out that this is the path this is where evolution is gonna take us in 300 years. Right. So the GN drives were actually meant to be an enhancement to that. Right. Okay. So earlier I said how they go into Trans Am. Okay. That was just a prototype of the actual true form of that, which is Trans Am Burst. Right. All right. Which is when a person who's an innovator uses Trans Am. So what happens is, because in Trans Am, the engines go into overdrive and they shoot out a shit ton of those particles. Oh, okay. So when the innovator does it, it shoots out this shit ton of particles, and everything in that particle field is now connected mentally. So they're all connected mentally. They can see each other's emotions and all that shit. So that was the whole goal, was to bring people together. And then the ultimate end was the Quanti drive, which was GN drive specifically designed with quantum energy to work with that person. And holy fucking shit. They get invaded by a massive aliens armada. They were specifically hunting people that had quantum brainwaves because communication. Right. And it said that once he got that Quanti, the GN Quanti, whatever, the Gundam that he uses those drives, and he activated that shit, he could have wiped out that whole fleet with no issues. That's how powerful it made his Gundam.
Right.
But again, the side effect, the secondary effect, where it allowed him to connect with the aliens, was the key.
Right.
And that's what ended up creating peace. So my question is, now the next question is, how could the U.S. military, or the military in general, would use an individual that has quantum brainwaves? Would that change military doctrine, or was that...
Well, how many people you got that have that?
No, they discover it.
So anybody can do it?
That people are going to that this is going to be the next step in evolution.
Oh, so they don't know who has it.
Yeah, but this is going to be happening soon.
People are going to start getting this ability.
Yes.
Oh, shit. Well, then that immediately changes. I mean, honestly, that changes everything, I think. I think everything needs to change because because then you have to assume your enemy's all... Because if this is a random event that's going to start happening with quote-unquote evolution and it's not essentially American exclusive, then you have to assume, okay, our enemy already is going to have this as well, or shit, might already have this. We might be behind.
Right.
So now we have to expend every resource to figuring out, A, what this is, B, how it happens, potentially, C, can we figure out who's going to get it? And if we can predict and calculate who's going to get it and how many people are going to have it, okay, cool. Now, D, what the fuck can we do with this? What does this thing do? What is it capable of? Is it something that we can utilize for communications? Could this be now where instead of having to send encrypted communications where you can literally have your communications officer essentially like aboard a naval ship, one guy, and then there's the hub.
The other guy sending the information out.
That's what it is. That's what I'm saying. Like it's there's no need to encrypt in communications anymore. Everything is just sent through. There's no way to intercept it. It's just straight sent to the quantum brainwave guy, and that's it. He picks it up, and end of the day, that's how you get all your communications are now gone through that. So that would change that, and then they would also be instant communications as well. There would be no lag time at all.
Yeah, quantum computing, quantum energy.
Yeah,
the quantum is almost instant.
It would be basically as soon as I am thinking of the message, it's being sent. You know what I'm saying? So that would change the speed of warfare. Right now, it's limited to obviously communications and then the kinetic nature of what we do, right? So if you were to eliminate the lag time in decision making throughout the chain of command, if you had generals if every general was assigned a person, or anyone who was in a command position was assigned a person, and then every team that was out in the field or platoon or whatever had a person that was a quantum if it became like on the mainstream like that, then the command the lag time for real-time combat is almost instant. There's no more the lag time disappears and it becomes almost instant, because then the commander can know exactly, because as they're thinking it of what's happening, it's being literally transmitted back. And so a field commander would have the immediate knowledge of what's happening instantly, quicker than a GPS signal could be sent, quicker than a radio communication could be sent. And then as they're receiving this information instantly, now granted, if that commander doesn't have this ability to do it, then sure, maybe there's a little bit of a lag time there. But it's way faster than it was before, because then all he's got to do is think about how to respond, tell this dickhead who's the communications person that has quantum brainwaves, and then he sends it back out, and instantly it happens way quicker than, just sending a regular radio transmission or whatever. Now, if the commander himself has it, if this is an ability that you can give people, because that's what we'd probably figure out is how we could give it to people. And then if you gave it to everyone in the military, that was just like, now this is how we communicate.
Yeah.
There is no lag time in communications at all. The commander can instantly issue orders as he's thinking them.
The president himself.
The president could instantly do that, yeah. To tell, hey, this is what I want you guys to go do. And then as the president is telling you to do this, it's already in motion happening as he's thinking it. That's crazy. And that would change, again, the speed of warfare would just be astronomically greater than what it is now, obviously. So that would be a big thing I think that would change for sure.
All right.
And in terms of, honestly, intelligence gathering would change completely, because you would not need... You could literally have an agent who had this ability communicating with another agent and communicating back with a hub who's retrieving the information. Instant intelligence gathering. No need for any kind of secrecy of like trying to communicate, do dead drops. Back in like the 70s when during the Cold War, that's how the spies and shit would communicate, through dead drops and through fucking codes and all kinds of crazy shit, right? Nope, wouldn't need to be done anymore. And that's the other thing. If we were the only ones that had this or figured out how to use it this way, look at World War II, the Enigma machine that the Nazis had. We could not crack their fucking communications for shit. That thing was like the perfect fucking code machine, right? Until we captured one.
Until we captured it, and then once we broke the Enigma machine, the war turned in our favor.
Oh, completely, because because that was what they were banking on, was having communications that no one else could know what the fuck they were doing. And if you don't know what your enemy's doing, you're at an immediate disadvantage. So if you can't...
Sorry.
There we go.
Just trying to turn it.
It's like sitting on something.
Let me just move over.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
All right.
There you go. Anyways, so yeah, if you could have... Oh, damn it, now you moved mine. If you could have that instant intelligence gathering, that would also change the fucking way shit would go down, because spying would be insane. Especially if we were the only ones that had that. No one would know what the fuck we were doing ever. It would just happen and they'd be like, oh fuck. They'd have no indication that something was going to go down and nothing to do about it at all. But the inverse side of that, right? Let's say with like terrorism. If terrorists had this ability, if terror networks had this ability, there would just be shit happening and we'd have no fucking clue. 9/11, all that stuff, we had all this intelligence indicating that something was going to happen. We would have never known about it. It would have just happened and we'd have been like, oh fuck, we had no idea. And then something else would have happened. And then it was just... empires could fall if the other side had this technology or had this ability, right? So the inverse side of it could also, just as devastating as it could be if we had it, it would be even more devastating if the enemies who are not state affiliated had it as well. If like terrorist organizations got a hold of it or somehow had it, which I'm sure they would. And then if it's an evolutionary trait, then okay, we have to assume everybody has it. So then, all right, now our enemies are going to be using it. So what can we do? Because I think our technologies would be, once we're figuring out how to use it, we would also develop a technology to how to stop it, how to block it, how to make it so it doesn't work as good, or something like that. Because that would be the key to, if your enemy has it, well, how do you disrupt it? How do you stop it from happening? Then you could still do it and they can't, right? So I don't know. I think we'd focus on that too.
All right, so I told you about the GN drives.
Yeah.
I told you about the innovators.
Yeah.
Now, I mentioned it, but let me now go into detail. The third part of this whole thing,
yeah.
This whole triangle was Veda, which is that super quantum computing AI thing.
Okay.
Now, it's also, not only is it all that, it's also a database.
Right, okay.
So because it works off quantum computing and all that, an innovator can connect with it, with the quantum brainwaves, and essentially download information or whatever Veda knows, that guy can know now.
So you basically have access to the internet.
Yes.
Instantly in your brain. Mm-hmm. I mean, so that's another thing. Okay, I'm assuming the question is going to be, how does that fucking affect?
No, now the question is,
all right,
all three are just given to the U.S. military.
Okay.
What the fuck's about to happen to the world?
Oh, there is about to be a one world government, and it's going to be an American fucking flag. That's what it's about to be, because there is no way that we take that shit and don't take over the rest of the world.
If you give all three of this to any country in the world,
they're going to take over the world.
Yes.
If you gave it to fucking Ethiopia, Ethiopia will take over the world. If you give it to fucking, I don't know, North Korea, immediately they're going to take over the fucking world. And the shitty part about it is, not a goddamn thing anyone can do. You can try and fight it, but if you have essentially an AI connected to all of the knowledge from humanity in its entirety,
as it's being
written, plus the ability to that then gives you the ability to essentially predict the future. So you can literally have a quantum computer determine what's about to happen, and you could stop it before. Like, it'd be like thought crime, like Minority Report. You could literally stop because you could be like, oh, this guy, we know he's going to think, he's probably thinking about this based on whatever fucking algorithm they use and quantum mechanics and computing and all this shit. And they could just say, hey, you know what? At some point in the future, we predicted the future and you're going to do something bad against us. So we're just going to kill you now. So that way we don't have to worry about it. Problem solved. That eliminates all resistance, all everything. And then everything. So really, that would be, now granted, if we had that ability, would we maintain our ideals and hold our ideals of freedom and justice as well? Or would we take over the world as a benevolent benefactor? Or would we take it over and then turn into a controlling factor? Would it eventually turn into like if North Korea was fucking the one that did it?
Well,
I don't know.
It's funny you say that because in the show, this was all supposed to happen. Like the engine, the GN drives, and Veda was there for the sole purpose of being ready for the emergence of the innovator.
Okay.
Where he fucked up is he made artificial humans.
Oh.
And they were called Innovates.
Okay.
Because they had quantum brainwaves.
Oh, all right.
But they were artificial. And unbeknownst to him, several hundred years in the future, Russia was going to do Super Soldier program and create humans that have the slightest connection to quantum brainwaves. But because of the Super Soldier program.
Yeah, all right.
And there's only 2 of them left alive.
Oh.
And one of them happens to work for them.
Yeah.
And the other one works for the Russian government.
Damn.
What was it saying? So what happened was, one of the innovators he put in charge to watch over the program, ended up taking it over for himself.
Damn.
And that's when he's able to create the A laws and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why they killed, because he put himself in cryogenic sleep because he wanted to see this new world once everything was set.
Yeah.
And then they killed him because they didn't want him there, and then that triggered
the thing to happen. Yeah, like a failsafe. Yeah,
the failsafe, which took away partial control of Veda from him, and it gave the Gundams access to Trans Am. Which was even funny. The message sent to him, I don't know who you are, pilot, and all this stuff. You may not be the one I want, as in, you're not the innovate.
Yeah.
But here's Trans Am. You fight against the guys who just betrayed us.
Make do with what you can, yeah. That's cool.
So, all this was set for him to make the world peaceful.
Yeah.
He literally, everything Celestial Being was doing was to end war. Literally, that's why they made he came up with the idea with the quantum drives.
Yeah.
And then he realized about the quantum brainwaves and all that shit. So he was able to make that, Veda, and all that shit. He's like, okay, I am rich as fuck right now.
Yeah.
I can become the richest, most powerful thing in this planet.
Yeah.
Or I can do something with this.
Right.
And so he creates basically a space station in the lost regions of space.
Yeah.
And so Earth is developing along the signs of solar energy and all this shit. They're moving towards this line when he leaves.
Yeah.
He sends a group over here to develop off the quantum drives.
Okay.
So that's why in 300 years later, when the show takes place, they have the flags. I forgot what the other ones are. The flag's the only one I liked that was non.
Yeah.
GN drive.
Yeah.
And so the Gundams were just in a league of their own.
Yeah.
They had them in the original show. The Gundams were called Gundams because they were made of Gundanium.
Gundanium.
So I'm assuming they have some kind of alloy like that too.
Yeah.
Because they get hit with those attacks. They're like, okay, cool. Sorry, bro.
Yeah.
So their technology is just so far advanced, and so their purpose is, okay, we're here to end war by being the personification of war itself.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, you two are fighting? I'm gonna kill fucking both of you.
Yeah. Fuck off. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was their armed interventions.
Yeah. And we'll teach you not to fight.
Because if we kill all your fighters, then what's left?
Yeah. Well, then you're not gonna fight each other anymore.
Because we will show them our peaceful ways through force.
Through murdering them all.
But that was the whole point, was for them to create an uprising.
Oh, okay.
So for them to come up to the uprising, and then once the innovator came in with the quantum brainwave and Veda he would be able to link everyone together.
Oh, okay.
And start getting people to be on the peaceful side.
Yeah.
But since this fucker stepped in and ruined that shit, at the end of the show, they gain Veda back, and he gains his quantum powers, and he has the drives.
Yeah.
But he just can't connect everybody.
Right.
The plan was just so far removed.
Okay.
And then the movie, it took the alien invasion, and then he figured out what was wrong with them, and he left with them. And he came back with this, when he came back like 40 years later, he came back with this mech that was like, it was hauntingly one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. It was like it was made out of mirrors and glass, and it was you can barely make out the outlines of a mech. I don't know if it was even a Gundam at that point.
Yeah.
But you could still see it was translucent. You could see behind it and everything. It was, I don't know. I'll show you the video of it later. So, but my point is, like, all three of these were meant to create peace.
Right.
So, hopefully, if it gets given to the U.S. government.
Well, that's what we would hopefully do, is eliminate war by basically saying, if any of you fight, we're just going to wipe you all out.
Which is basically what we already do.
I mean, kind of.
It's just as long as it benefits us.
Right, yeah. So it's not entirely benevolent, I guess.
Israel's killing a bunch of Palestinian kids. Yeah, and we're getting paid money for it. So what's your point?
So I didn't see shit.
And then the shit was it in Africa with Sudan and shit?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fine. We'll do something.
Yeah, give us that money.
Yeah. It's like, hey, France.
Yeah, fork it over.
Bastards. So I don't know. So my whole thing is like, do you think individually those things, if any one of those things would be given to the United States,
yeah,
it will change the face of the earth?
It's game changer, yeah.
Which one is the most one?
Probably the quantum brainwaves.
The innovator?
Yeah, that's probably the most devastating.
Yeah, because I don't know if they did in the show, but I don't think there's a range to it. I don't think they ever said a range.
Oh yeah, then if that's the case,
if it's quantum,
it's instant communication. Yeah. It's instant whatever it is you're doing, and then if you can,
not only that, the fastest processing possible. So is that if you have quantum brainwaves, does that mean your brain is processing at a faster
quantum mechanics or quantum computing, basically? Yeah. I mean, which if that's the case, then oh man, it's over. We're gonna figure out everything.
Because the guy who got him, he wasn't like super smart or anything. But he did become a better pilot, so maybe instead of
maybe you can use it for other things that you're good at. I don't know.
Or sorry, what do they call them? Meisters? Gundam Meisters. Or Maestros.
Maestros? Oh, yeah.
Maestros.
Anyways.
So, yeah, so for this episode, I just wanted to see how...
Yeah.
So, we accept that the whole idea of that quantum triangling, that triangle of the drive, the innovator, and the fucking GN drives.
Yeah.
Is fucking amazing.
Right, yeah.
To me, I think Gundam 00 might be the strongest Gundams out there. That quantum...
Yeah,
able to wipe out an entire alien armada with nothing is like one of the best feats I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I could be wrong. I haven't seen the later. After 00, I haven't seen any of the Gundam series, so it could be changed by now.
Yeah,
and I haven't seen Seed or Destiny or anything like that.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, it doesn't look like there's something that's on that level.
Yeah, I don't know.
So bringing that into our world will probably be devastating.
In conclusion, yes, it would be fucking devastating and it would change the landscape of everything. It would just change everything at the end of the day.
Now, out of all those, what do you think the change would be to, like, say, the F-22 or the F-35?
Honestly, I think those weapon systems no longer are manned at that point, and they are because I mean, okay, if you had quantum communications,
do you think an innovator would be controlling the F-35 through his quantum brainwave?
Yeah, from a safe distance where, and shit, you could have one guy control the entire fleet.
Now think about that. If you have the guy having the innovator piloting the F-22, and then the F-22 has that whole system where you can just look around and gives you combine that with Veda already translating all that information at you at once.
Oh yeah, you would know everything. You would not have any. There would be nothing that could stop you.
Right.
Because you would know every possible angle of attack that anyone would take against any of those things, and then you would already have known. Oh, we know where they're coming from, so you're already gonna send your shit to take them out, regardless. You know what I'm saying? Like it would just be impossible to fucking defend against.
So could you just get a radar lock even if the enemy's behind you? Then
you could probably have a radar lock from fucking. Yeah. If you had that ability, and you had that,
But
and
then
you
again,
applied that communication
can
to the missile systems,
If you can control the missile as a quantum
and then yeah,
and the quantum brainwave, do you even need radar?
I mean, no, probably not. It probably eliminates the need for radar because you could tell the missile where to go and it goes. And that's the other thing too is if you unlock that, then you could probably in quantum mechanics and quantum computing, you could probably essentially teleport the missile inside the fucking cockpit and just blow it up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's a good thing is that you reminded me. So when the Quanti mech with the two Quanti engine, the quantum computer engines, and him, he was actually able to phase in and out of reality to attack these ships.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, then you would just you would just be done. There'd be nothing that anyone could do if you could phase in and out of reality. And again, like I said, you could just literally teleport a missile inside the cockpit of what you could teleport. Not just your missiles, you could teleport their missiles inside their own cockpits and just detonate. You probably wouldn't even need to do that. You could just detonate the missiles on their fucking. If you were, let's say, an F-22 was coming at you, you could just detonate the missiles inside of it. That's it. Done. All dead. No, nothing they can do. You know.
Yeah.
So.
How long? If you were to get not instant access, this was just supplied to the U.S.
Yeah.
How long do you think until it becomes military, like?
Oh, like mainstream military
not
technology?
mainstreams where it becomes fully usable to the U.S. They get a guy that has quantum brainwaves. They get the computer, and they get the engines.
Yeah, 12 to 18 months.
12 to 18 months?
Yeah, and that's just if they only have the one guy who has that. If during that time they can figure out how to give it to more people or they can unlock it in people, that shrinks the time frame down. But I'd say if you just have the one guy and that's it, you don't figure out how to give it to anyone else and you just got the one dude, 12 to 18 months before it's...
I think it'll be longer because I think it'll take 12 to 18 months to reverse engineer the drive enough to where you can mass produce it. And I think it's gonna take I think it'll take us years to figure out the computers beta.
Yeah, but if you got one guy that's got the ability to do the quantum brainwaves and the quantum mechanics,
Beta's gonna, if he's able to connect to Beta's, there's no encryption that's gonna stop it from getting into the internet.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and then that dude could basically create in everything. Like he would just, and like I just think it would take 12 to 18 months for the logistics portion of it to get to the point where then he's just thinking shit and it's being created. So, no. Well, anyways, I mean, this was fun. We went for almost an hour and a half, so I mean, an hour and 20 minutes. Cool. So that was pretty fun. That was pretty good. This is a good one. I think we should definitely do more of these, I don't know, crossovers, I guess, or whatever you want to call them. Mashup? No, that's not the right word.
Bump uglies?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, butt fucking. Oh, butt fuck nowhere? What? But yeah, no, this was good. And we should definitely do these more often to combine topics, I guess. So, anyways. All right. Well, I mean, shit, you got anything to say in closing?
No, it's been a blast, and I hope you all enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll tune back in for other episodes.
Yeah, hopefully you will. So, also, because we didn't say it at the beginning, but if you listen to the end, just follow us on at Game Rage Magazine on Instagram and TikTok, and at Game Rage Mag on Twitter if you want to follow us on that, or X, or whatever the fuck it's called now. And don't forget to go to our website, which hopefully this is where you listen to it. But if you didn't, go to our website, GameRageMagazine.com. You can check it all out.
All right, cool. So take care, you guys. So.
Oh, yeah. Anyways.
All right, so that was good. So you think so wait,